So if you're not already familiar with Dok-Ondar, he's the proprietor of Dok-Ondar's Den of Antiquities at Galaxy's Edge, both at Disneyland and Hollywood Studios. He's a big name in the black market across the galaxy in Star Wars, possibly even the name.
Have you been attentive to Dok-Ondar?
Very.
So this Disfairs episode is going to lay out everything about this mercurial Ithorian and his mysterious Den of Antiquities at the Black Spire. As I said, there are in fact 2 Dok-Ondars and 2 Den of Antiquities, which are just as alike as the 2 Black Spires at the 2 galaxy edges on the 2 Batus. But whatever, if you're on either coast, it's the same shop and the same Dok-Ondar. Alright, so just a little backstory, because it does all tie into the Black Spire's Den of Antiquities. Ithorians are known for their pacifist and spiritual nature. Dok-Ondar is neither of these. Apparently he had a penchant for collecting as a child. This is all from Dok-Ondar's mouths, by the way, so it could be a lie. Ithorians have 2 mouths, if you didn't already know. But anyway, seeing as how he was from a family of gardeners, his early collections consisted of rocks, bones, and anything unusual that turned up in the soil. His parents encouraged his curating, as well as his career choice as a tradesman. So Dok-Ondar's life is going well enough for an Ithorian gardener's son, when then, POW! His parents are murdered shortly after discovering some archaeological secrets of both Jedi and Sith origin.
Father.
That's as specific as the story gets. Oh wait, there's also an Ithorian gravestone dedicated to them at the Den of Antiquities. This thus proves that there's not only some merit to the story, but that he's also a good son, right? And so, Dok-Ondar's deep-seated interest in all objects of the Sith and Jedi was born, as he vied to unravel the murder of his parents. And the only way to do that is to learn more of these Jedi and Sith. And falling back on what Dok-Ondar does best, he delved, hellbent, into the world of collecting Jedi and Sith artifacts. I suppose not too long after, he opened his Den of Antiquities, not only to trade and build up his precious collections, but as a resource in unraveling what led to his parents' deaths. It's not a bad backstory, really.
I like this guy.
The shop itself was designed to be relatively small and subtle as not to draw attention from the First Order, disguised as a nondescript salvage shop, with no windows to speak of. Seriously, there isn't even a sign indicating what the place is. You have to either walk in or ask a cast member. However, I've heard cast members say that Dok-Ondar is the oldest living citizen of the Black Spire. Which, by the way, the Black Spires are actually petrified tree trunks. And since the Black Spire was the tallest edifice in the region, and was where all trade originally took place, it was where Dok-Ondar decided to place his shop. But this doesn't exactly explain why the place doesn't have any windows and is so discreet. Maybe he altered it after the rise of the First Order.
This place can be a little rough.
The treasures, artifacts, animals, droids, armor, weapons, and relics within are arranged in a seemingly random fashion, but there is supposedly an order to them only Dok-Ondar understands. And there does seem to be some semblance of sequences here and there. Helmets, climates, blasters, differing eras and such, but overall, yeah, the place is a hodgepodge of sorts. Now, the mere utterance of Dok-Ondar's name during this time period at the Black Spire, which is between episode 8 and 9, carries a fascinating yet eerily unsettling weight across the dark corners of the black market and earnest collectors across the galaxy. He's even known as the gatekeeper of the black market. That's his actual moniker. And I think that's how you use the word moniker. The knowledge he possesses is as extensive as his eclectic array of connections across the galaxy, and he is known to have a keen temper. Anyone that so much as tries to cross him is instantly put on what the locals of Batuu call the dock list. Such individuals find their lives either jeopardized or ended completely.
Lock the door, R2.
All that said though, Dok-Ondar's not always a bad guy. He's pretty interesting. If you're up for trading and making good deals, you're treated well. He's just a fixated tradesman that lives and breathes in the gray zone that civilized people would run through traffic to avoid. And all that shouldn't be too surprising. He's a character that literally speaks out of both sides of his mouth, which metaphorically isn't at all true about his species, but it's a fun play on words. Ithorians don't speak Galactic Basic because they don't have the proper organs to do so. But really, the character, Dok-Ondar, does and will say whatever he feels is necessary to achieve his own ends. So it jives. His dedication to his trade and pursuits is the utmost any three-dimensional archetype can go. And due to his many connections across the galaxy, Dok-Ondar has amassed an unrivaled collection. He's only interested in genuine goods. He doesn't dabble in fakes, copies, shams, or forgeries. So he's on the level there. The lengths he's willing to go to for his Force-related collection pieces is entirely on the other end of the dark spectrum, though. He's all across the board. Bounty hunters, scavengers, thieves, mercenaries, he doesn't care. He works with them all. Notables he's worked with in the past are Han Solo.
It's Han, but that's okay.
Before the Battle of Yavin, to get some infant Sarlaccs, which Solo only came back with one. As well as Hondo Ohnaka and Dr. Aphra, though he did try to shoot her over the Cassian blade. But that's what I'm trying to get at. Despite his calm exterior, Dok-Ondar is intense. He's totally comfortable with double-crossing, side deals, hustles, and murder. And just look at him here. You'll eventually get drowsy if you stare at him long enough. Despite the dichotomy of his character, he nonetheless is quite great at getting his hands on many odd and hard-to-find things, including lightsabers and Jedi and Sith artifacts. He has Jedi and Sith holocrons. Do you have any idea how hard it is to find a holocron? Darth Bane had to go to one of the farthest, emptiest corners of the galaxy called the Tempered Wastes to find one on Lehon. Meanwhile, Dok-Ondar has enough of them to choke an elephant. And all of this may have you more intrigued by this Den of Antiquities of his, which is a really fun and amazing place. I wish Disney had made it just a little bit larger, but everyone always wants more, don't they?
Whatever you do, don't stare.
At what?
Any of it.
There's a bunch of fun stuff before you even enter. I already mentioned the Ithorian gravestone, but there's also this Jedi statue from Coruscant, not to be confused with this statue from the Jedha Temple of the Kyber. Dok-Ondar, along with Hondo Ohnaka, personally retrieved it after sneaking into the temple during the earlier days of the Imperial era. The statue was guarded by Guardians of the Wills, one of which was Chirrut Imwe.
I'm one with the Force is with me.
Seeing as how the Jedha and the Temple of the Kyber were destroyed in Rogue One, this statue is now last of its kind. Immediately as you enter, you're faced with this relief mural, which was in Chancellor Palpatine's office in Revenge of the Sith. The park was crowded the day I shot this, but if you can look past all of these people, the mural shows Jedi battling an otherwise unknown alien race. How it was broken into 4 pieces, as well as how Dok-Ondar got his hands on it, is likewise unknown. There's a collection of some taxidermed heads, a tauntaun like the one in Episode 5. Beside it are 2 BD-1 cutter vibro axes, commonly used by Jabba the Hutt's guards. And Anuba, which are plentiful in the Outer Rim. They were on the Clone Wars show as well as Rebels. If you're familiar with Sabine Wren, she has an image of an Anuba on her armor. A Corellian hound from, well, Corellia. A Kadyak from Vandor, seen in the Solo movie. The axe right next to it is of Gamorrean make, as is the one beside the Anuba. And there's a Nexu, which you may recognize from Episode 2 when the Geonosians set one loose on Padme, Anakin, and Obi-Wan in the arena. It's native to Chalgana. There are other animals in the Den of Antiquities too, though. An Alapum from the Gungan swamps of Naboo, a Womp Rat, as referenced in A New Hope, the actual infant Sarlacc that Han Solo procured for Dok-Ondar, which interestingly shows its body, not just its mouth, Skedos from Tatooine Caverns, Felucian fireflies, and a Wampa, as seen in The Empire Strikes Back. Now, every item in the Den of Antiquities has a story, whether that be behind the artifact itself, or the way Dok-Ondar came to acquire it. Occasionally, even both. There's a story of Dok-Ondar himself acquiring Ki-Adi-Mundi's lightsaber at Jabba the Hutt's palace, though why Disney doesn't go ahead and sell it already is a tad aggravating.
None of your business, that's why.
Though that's likely because I'm an avid Disney Legacy lightsaber collector. There are a lot of helmets, and for some reason, a lot of heads. There's Leia's Ubi's disguise from Return of the Jedi, a number of Imperial helmets, I'll just name them off quick, Tank Trooper, AT-AT Driver, Shore Trooper, Imperial Ground Crew, a Standard Stormtrooper, and Mud Trooper. A Clone Trooper helmet, a Rebel Trooper helmet from the Battle of Hoth, A-Wing, B-Wing, X-Wing, Y-Wing, and Infantry helmets, Youngling helmets, this funky one the Fleet Troopers wear on Princess Leia's vessel at the beginning of A New Hope and at the end of Rogue One, the Seventh Sister Inquisitor helmet, a human shrunken head beside a regular-sized Advasic head, some Doro's head, the scout helmet Ezra wears in Rebels that Sabine custom painted. Next to it is a Resistance-era helmet that is unknown, though some find the starbird on the forehead interesting, and with the ear cups, it's similar to the bomber crews in The Last Jedi. An Imperial Fleet Trooper helmet worn by certain individuals aboard the first Death Star, which I strongly feel must have inspired dark helmets in Spaceballs.
I can't breathe in this thing!
Edrio 2 tubes from Rogue One, a Kaleesh battle mask, which if you don't know, Grievous was a Kaleesh before becoming all mechanized. The mask is made up of various beasts from the Kaleesh homeworld of Kali. A Sith Acolyte mask, a helmet worn by Emperor Palpatine's Imperial Royal Guard, a Mythosaur skull, which I want for my own home, but is obviously a replica Dok-Ondar put on display because you could fit a whole Den of Antiquities in a real Mythosaur skull. There's also the fun headdress from the shaman at the Ewok village on Endor in Return of the Jedi. And there's a Mandalorian helmet that looks an awful lot like Din Djarin's. Seeing as how the show takes place around 11 ABY, and Disney's Galaxy's Edge takes place around 34 ABY, would mean that something happens to him within the next 23 years. He could be dead, given up on the whole Mando thing, or maybe he just changes helmets. 23 years is a lot of time. Any number of things could have happened. I guess all we know is that something happens to his original helmet by 34 ABY. You heard it here first. Unless you heard someone mention this before me, then you didn't hear it here first. But I haven't heard anyone say this before me, so I'm the first to hear myself talk about it. But anyway, there's also the two-pronged Ambin Phase Pulse rifle beside it. Now this could be from anywhere, but the fact that it's beside a very Mando-like helmet, and it's a weapon he's known to carry, is very indicative that the helmet is likely his. Just saying. Next to these is a weird container that is apparently an urn with the ashes of a blue snaggletooth, which is this rare action figure. See, there was this guy in A New Hope called Zutton, who's a Snivian, but as you can see, he's short and wearing red. However, the Kenner action figure is tall and wearing blue. This mistake made it one of the more sought-after figures. So it turns out Eric Baker, the Imagineering prop master and set dresser, actually had this extremely rare Snivian as a kid. So as a tribute, he made sure a prop of some kind was created for Dok-Ondar's. In this cylindrical tank is a Dianoga by the name of Toothy. A Dianoga is the tentacled creature in the garbage compactor in A New Hope. Anyway, Dok-Ondar offered to pay Jabba the Hutt double for this sentient cephalopod if the crime lord were willing to throw in the Ki-Adi-Mundi lightsaber, and obviously, the deal was struck.
If money is all that you love, then that's what you'll receive.
There's a whole mess of blasters belonging to Han Solo, Lando, Cassian Andor, Jyn Erso, Stormtroopers, possibly Jango Fett, and an Imperial Death Trooper. Female Tusken Raider masks and coverings, as well as a gaffy stick, such as the one used to render Luke unconscious in A New Hope, but more positively portrayed in the Boba Fett series. And Dok-Ondar actually possesses the Sword of Cassian, forged on Morban, which is this ancient Sith planet. This weapon originally belonged to an ancient Sith who believed lightsabers were for the weak. This artifact is reported to be the most treasured piece in Dok-Ondar's collection. It's also theorized to hold an important clue to unraveling what happened to his parents. Yet he also states that he plans on selling it. So during this time period at Disney's Galaxy's Edge, the Sword of Cassian is sought after by Kylo Ren. But I'm not going to dive deeper than that here. There are plenty of Star Wars channels that already explain it in detail. But suffice it to say, the Sword of Cassian is the most valued artifact in Dok-Ondar's extensive collection.
That isn't very reassuring.
Dok-Ondar also has General Grievous's cape, a Gungan statue of a Gungan seen on Naboo in The Phantom Menace. The Ark of the Covenant from Indiana Jones used to sit in front of it, but it's gone now. And though being really awesome doesn't make sense, because all of the events of Star Wars took place a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away. But the Den of Antiquities also has the Yavin Medal awarded to Luke, Han, and Chewbacca in A New Hope. 2 of the 4 sages of Dwarti, Sistros on the left and Breta on the right, who were these ancient philosophers from the Sith pantheon. Sistros was in Palpatine's office on Coruscant. There's also the blast armor of a Naboo royal guard. An IG series droid known as BK-86 that's supposed to be Dok-Ondar's security, though the thing never moves. He's the same series droid as IG-11 in Mando or IG-88 from The Empire Strikes Back. Then there's the instruments used by Figrin D'an and the modal nodes, as well as a 7-string Halleck set, similar to the one played by the Shag Kava band in The Force Awakens. There's a Z6 jetpack, though it's impossible to tell whom it belonged to. Boba Fett, Jango Fett, it's the most preferred model of Mandalorian, seeing as it offers better protection and a larger rocket than the JT-12. A Kalikori, which is a Twi'lek totem heirloom thing that they pass down through generations. Each segment is added and marked by a family member. This was all explained in Rebels. And if you look up here, you'll see weird-looking documents. These detail the items Dok-Ondar has loaned out of his collection, as well as specifically to whom. There's a Sith chalice, an artifact used during initiations and meditation. One much akin to this is also seen in Palpatine's office on Coruscant. And then there's several busts that all don't totally make sense to me. Like there's one of Yaddle and of Plo Koon and unnamed Togruta, and that's all fine. Sidious makes some kind of sense too, but I can't really picture Darth Maul sitting to be recreated like this. In any case, they are neat and they are for sale.
Credits will do fine.
Because it's such a vast collection, and even though he may sometimes appear relaxed, Dok-Ondar keeps a vigilant eye over everything and everyone, including his assistants. Now, if running a notorious black market at the edge of the galaxy weren't enough, Dok-Ondar is also the unofficial banker for the entire Black Spire outpost. Between him and Oga Gara, the Oga from Oga's Cantina, they keep track of the debts owed to both of them, with Oga's crew making certain they are timely paid. The operation runs on different layers and players. But what precisely caused Dok-Ondar to set up shop so far in the Outer Rim as to be at the border to wild space is debatable, but likely linked to some nefarious contingency. The animatronic for Dok-Ondar is subtle and expertly well done. There are little nuances, the speed of his blinks, the smoothness of the movements. I noticed that his lips used to move, but currently they're fairly stationary. But I'm guessing it was one of the reasons for the animatronic's shutdowns in its earlier years. However, it's easy to gloss over the animatronic because Dok-Ondar really does genuinely feel like a proprietor casually going about his business. What with spinning around, taking calls, getting frustrated, counting figures, it's so well done it's easy to forget he's there, and yet that makes the experience all that more immersive. So I should point out that if you want to own a Disney legacy lightsaber that belonged to someone such as Luke or Vader, this is where you go to get it. It's what the store is mostly known for. The prices vary, but they're all a lot of fun and have distinctions from one another.
An elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
Except for Plo Koon and Luminaras. These are suspiciously similar. Otherwise, the legacy lightsabers are a ton of fun. Even more so if you allow yourself to pretend that you're buying them on the black market in a far-off galaxy. You can also buy legacy lightsabers from Disney's online store, but it's not nearly as much fun. You miss out on the experiences offered at the Den of Antiquities. Anyway, if you want to make your own lightsaber, which is also a lot of fun, you have to go to Savvy's workshop, which is kind of down and around the corner under Dok-Ondar's. But I need to point out that this place has nothing to do with Dok-Ondar. It's its own thing, and oddly right under the nose of Dok-Ondar. But with all the merchandise, story, and drama surrounding the Den of Antiquities, I feel I've made a strong case that the place is really amazing. And that includes Dok-Ondar himself. Let me know in a comment if you feel I left something out, and please hit like and subscribe. I get so wrapped up in the information aspect that I keep forgetting to mention it. That's it for this episode. May the Force be with you, blah blah blah, Disfairs out.
The Force will be with you, always.